Hello out there in internet land, it's me again, and it's him again. It's fat and angry, he's fat and I'm angry. And today we're going to be talking about gaming, in particular, online gaming experiences, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. If you game online, you are probably a horrible person, and I hate you. But, that doesn't mean there isn't anything to talk about, so why don't you start?
Alright, for one thing, we've been doing, I can't say how long you've been doing the whole online gaming stuff for. I know I've been doing online gaming as pretty much as long as there's been online gaming. I mean, I remember back in the day playing Quake, the original Quake, not Quake 2 or Quake 3 or any of that shit. The original Quake online on a fucking dial-up 56K modem. And we were thankful for what we had. For what little speed we had, we took it and we were thankful. Not like these spoiled little shits nowadays.
Well, I don't know about you, but I wasn't grateful. Even though it was new technology, I could tell it was shit. I knew there had to be a better solution than that cranky fucking dial-up. And when it finally came in the form of DSL, I was grateful. I still don't get, like, modern-day commercials when they're talking about internet. First they shit on dial-up, and then they just kind of blow over the existence of DSL. They're just like, oh, yeah, DSL. DSL was good when it came out.
Yeah, I know you like them dick-sucking lips. No, we know that's not what DSL means. That is what DSL means sometimes, but just not in this relevance. Now, but you can't talk about online gaming unless you talk about dial-up. We all had to go through that shit. Those of us that are old enough for it, those of us that grew up in the '90s know the horrible banshee shriek that is the dial-up connection noise. If you don't know what that is, fucking look it up. Get off your ass, look it up. If you've never had to deal with that, that should be a thing. That should be a thing. Like I know they have like those reaction channels where like they have like kids or millennials react to XYZ, that kind of shit. Have them literally hook them up to like an old DSI modem, and have them try to do something like watch a YouTube video on 56K. Like sitting there for like a fucking 3 hours for a 10-minute video to load.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was the Stone Age, but at the time it was amazing. The internet was it was fucking brand new. There was no YouTube. Shit, if you were there for the very beginning, it was AOL or it was fucking nothing.
Yeah, back then, looking up videos was pretty much impractical. The best you got was GIFs with a subtitle.
Hey, some of those GIFs are badass. Some of those GIFs are still floating around today, like the wraiths of the internet, just going from place to place and haunting the dark corners. But going back to the conversation it had, online gaming, as I mentioned, I remember playing Quake, and Quake, if you were playing it on like a LAN connection, which is connecting a bunch of computers together directly, where you had almost no lag, could actually be very disorienting because the shit moved too fast. And I remember getting vertigo and motion sick because everything was just working too well. When you're on dial-up, everything kind of slowed down and it gave you a bit more time to react. But I remember playing... The Quake mods were my favorites. I remember one of them was an RPG where like you pick different character classes which kind of acted like different loadouts that you'd expect in some games today, like Team Fortress 2 or whatnot. Like the cleric would be like the medic in Team Fortress. And you could also like gain levels for like team kills. Hold on. Fat's cat seems to be very enthralled with the microphone. Alright, but speaking of Team Fortress 2, the original Team Fortress Classic, that is one I spent a lot of fucking time with playing online. Those were the fucking crucibles of online gaming, because that was back when you had grenades. You ever play Team Fortress Classic?
No, I've played a few shooters, but that wasn't one of them.
I used to know a guy in high school who was such a fucking savant with that game. He would literally be going along the map, and for no reason at all, he'd pull out a grenade and he'd start cooking it, which is where you pull the pin and you're holding it in your hand and you're counting down the seconds before the thing pops. And he would be, I remember one time, it was one of the maps, I think it was 2 Fort. No, it wasn't 2 Fort. It was this big Team Fortress Classic map where you had these two giant fortified walls, and then there was like a fucking no man's land in between them with a concrete tube running the middle and 2 moats, and then the rest of it was just open. And he was going along the bottom area, which was a sewer, and he pulls out a grenade and he starts cooking it. And I ask him, I was like, why the hell did you start cooking that grenade? And he says, wait. And there's a bit where the sewer zigzags and there's a blind corner. And he throws the grenade out into the blind corner and ducks back just as some poor bastard turns the corner and walks to see this grenade just fly into his face and blow up and end his shit right then and there. And I asked him, I says, how did you know that guy was going to go there? And he says he didn't. He had just gone through the map so many times and had recognized common player behaviors that he knows that generally 9 times out of 10, if you're going around this part of the map at this time, you're going to bump into someone at that corner. So just have a grenade cooked, ready to go, and chuck it. And most likely you're going to frag the shit out of someone as they're turning that corner.
Yeah, I remember some maps like that with Quake 3. And I don't remember the name of the map, but this was one of my favorites. There's a central area where everybody just kind of clusterfucks and has an all-out shootout. But in the center of it, there's like a chasm full of water. And there's actually a secret path in that waterway that'll take you up a tower that overlooks the area where everybody's clusterfucking themselves, and the BFG is waiting for you at top of it. Now, most people snipe from the top, but once people start seeing hell rain down from above, they know you're up there and they snipe you, and you don't have any more fun. So what I would do is I would swan dive off the top and just blow everybody away on my way down, and they couldn't shoot me because I was moving too fast and hell was raining from above. And yeah, I'd splatter when I hit the ground if I missed the water, but I only lose one of my kills in the process and get to kill everybody along the way. Plus, if I hit the water, I just go straight back up the secret tunnel, reload my BFG, and do it all over again.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah.
That's what I miss about a lot of those like old online shooters and stuff. They had like little secrets there. And even if it was common knowledge what the secret was, then the secret became not where to go, but how to best use the situation. Like a lot of the Team Fortress Classic maps had stuff like that. It's not necessarily like, it's like one of my favorite tactics was in Team Fortress Classic, the Pyro had a rocket launcher that did very little damage on the onset, but when you fired it and it hit something, it would create a big circle of flame. And if you didn't even have to hit what you were aiming at, they had to be in the splash damage and they would just catch fire. So if there was a sniper that was giving everyone a hell of a time, you would go up to the top and you would just start raining these pyro missiles everywhere. And all you had to do was graze a sniper. And like I said, it was the splash damage that would set them on fire. And nothing fucks you up when you're trying to get a sniping shot when your view is completely obfuscated by flames, and now the sniper who's attempting to blend in with his surroundings is lit up like a fucking candle. And everyone on the opposing team starts shooting at them because they're shooting at the big flaming screaming target at the top of the other end of the map that's running around like a jackass trying to put himself out. And of course, there was one of my favorite tactics. On the top part of this one map, there was a big fat ammo drop, and the ammo would respawn every 15 seconds. And what I would do is I would get the heavy, who, just like in the Team Fortress 2, had the minigun back in those days. And I would just sit my happy ass there on the ammo respawn and just unload with my minigun. Now, you can't do a lot of damage from that range, but it's constant sustained damage over a large area. And if a sniper had time enough to hit me, I would be in trouble. But he'd have a hard time lining up his shot if I knew where he was, and I would just keep pegging him, because every time he would get hit, they get pushed back just a little bit. And so every time I would start running low on damage, the ammo would respawn. Since I was sitting on it, I would get all my ammo back, so I would just constantly fire endlessly, and I would be the bane of every motherfucker on that map. And it was perfect, because with everyone focused on me trying to get me off that spot, it let our snipers and our soldiers rain down sniper rounds and rockets while they were busy focusing their fire on me to take out their snipers. And it was just a fun strategy that I like doing. It's like, it's not that you have to kill them, you just have to distract them long enough for the rest of your team to get kills. Ah, those were the good old days.
Now, me, most of the online games I've played are just the one-on-one fighting games. In particular, Mortal Kombat's always been my favorite series. And I don't have a whole lot of stories to tell. Basically, I either beat the guy or I don't. But one time, I was playing my favorite character, which is Tanya, and somebody was playing Jackie Briggs. And she has this move where she fires a small barrage of bullets from her gauntlets. And this move will knock you down and back if it hits you. And this person just kept spamming the move over and over again, so I was pinned in a corner, and when I would try to use her leg twist to go beneath the bullets, by the time she stood back up, I was standing up into another barrage of bullets. If I tried to jump over them, I'd land into bullets. If I tried to teleport through them, I'd land in bullets again. So there wasn't a whole lot I could do. But what's funny, though, is because for some reason the internet doesn't work on my profile of our PlayStation account, I'm forced to use my wife's. And so I'm playing on my wife's account online, and people are seeing this guy cheese me to death after I just had 3 good matches. I was playing the King of Hill style, and so all these people online with their headsets start like coming to my honor because they think I'm a girl playing. And I don't have a headset to interact with.
Oh, that would have been such a good opportunity to just fuck with their
Thanks, guys.
There you go. That's gonna kill some boners right there.
Tell them Large Marge sent you.
That was a missed opportunity, sir. That should be like another profile you should make, Large Marge, and just use it for like all your online gaming.
I'll think about it, sir. I'll think about it.
Who am I kidding? It's like, people have seen that movie. There's probably like thousands of accounts like Large Marge, 420, XX, Large Marge, XX.
Larger Marge.
Largest Marge, Large Marge Simpson. Like all these different variations. That would be an interesting thing. Like get a picture of Marge in Photoshop, like the ghoulish claymation face of Large Marge onto Marge Simpson's face.
Have her hair just like spiraling into chaos.
Put that shit up on DeviantArt. I dare you.
Speaking of which, I absolutely hate that scene. It gave me the fucking willies as a child, and I still hate it to this day.
If it didn't, then as a child you were dead inside, or you saw it as a grown-ass man, in which case that's cheating.
Nope, that movie scared the shit out of me as a kid with all the evil clowns and nightmare sequences and Large Marge.
That's definitely going to have to be like its own discussion, because man, that movie, there is a shitload to talk about. You can get well over an hour just discussing all the shit in that movie. That's like one for the ages. But anyway, Let's see. Back to online gaming. One thing we've both done is play RTSs online. You played StarCraft. Was there any other games that you played that were RTSs online?
There was this one called, I believe it's called Battle Realms, and it's an Oriental fantasy style game. And there were 4 clans. There was the dragon, the serpent, the lotus, and the wolf. Now, the dragon was like noble samurais, and you'd get like priests and geishas, your units. The serpents were more like assassins, so you would have ninjas and warlocks and such. And then you had the lotus, which were necromancers, and they were my favorite of the classes. And finally you had the wolf, which were basically like these barbarians that were formerly slaves, and they learned how to use shale to make weapons and armor with. And I was really good with the Lotus clan. I don't remember losing any online matches, and for the most part playing the game, I don't ever remember losing once they finally let you play. The first expansion, you only got to play as either the dragon or the serpent, depending on which quest you took the hero on.
Don't you just hate it when, when you're doing the main story mode, it cordons off, like, the one fucking faction you want to play?
Yeah.
That's one thing I hated from Heroes of the Realm 2, which me and a mutual friend of ours used to play the shit out of. And I hated when I finally got my own copy, in the campaign, very seldom does it let you choose the Necromancers. Now, they have some pretty crap units, but their ability to raise not zombies, it was skeletons. They could raise skeletons based on the amount of dead that they killed on the opponent's team. So if you ran into like a bunch of peasants and just wiped them out, you could create so many skeletal warriors that the game couldn't even keep track of how many you had. Instead of just giving you a number, it would just say Zounds. You have Zounds. That's how many fucking skeletons you have. And you could like literally, if you could get your skeletons there relatively unharmed, you could one-hit kill the biggest things your opponents could throw at you. Because they may only do 1 to 2 damage per hit, but you have like 10,000 of them. But I played. I didn't play any StarCraft online. I did play Total Annihilation online. Now, Total Annihilation for a time was considered to be the best RTS ever made by a lot of websites that probably no longer exist because this is how fucking long ago it was. We're still talking dial-up modem times here. But I liked the online because it had this giant galactic map with all these planets on it, and you chose a faction, and whether or not you won or lost determined how this faction map moved in terms of the battles. And so you're literally taking part of this great online war, which is kind of common nowadays, but for its time I hadn't seen anything like that. And you could literally like watch other people play and like try to study their tactics. And for anyone who's ever played Total Annihilation, of course, nowadays we know of like the one cheese dick ability, which is in the game you generally start off with these 2 commander units, which are these 2 giant robots that can build tier 1 factories to make units and build basic buildings and structures. But they have a D cannon, which is just this giant kill-all gun. And they have a shitload of hit points, and they do a decent amount for their basic attack. Now, when they die, they explode in this giant nuclear fireball and wipe out anything nearby. So one tactic that people found to be very useful was to send out a carrier plane, which could pick up a unit, try to pick up the opponent's commander unit, and then hold them above the most densely populated part of their base, so when their anti-air fires at the carrier unit, their command unit drops and becomes a giant nuclear bomb. So not only do you one-hit kill their commander unit, but it wipes out everything in its vicinity. It was a complete bullshit tactic, but man, did people start using it every fucking chance it got. It became to the point where surround yourself with anti-air units so that their carrier units couldn't get to you, and as soon as you saw them sending their carrier units, you made your commander fuck right off and hide.
Now, the first online game that I remember playing at all was a game in my computer class called Tank Tank. And it was graphics that were done like way cheaper than MS Paint, if there was.
This was like the precursor to Worms, right?
I don't even know if it was that advanced.
Well, I think the very first kind of game like that, it's essentially you got two tanks and you have to like work on the trajectory to hit your opponent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first game like that. I think was called like Kong Wars or like Banana Bomb or something like that. It was like this Apple II game where like it was two gorillas throwing bananas at each other that it would explode. But like then it became just something rational, like artillery pieces. And eventually that gameplay kind of spiraled out and became what most people know today as like Worms, if you've ever seen those games.
Yeah. But Tank Tank was pretty fun. I remember if you had enough people, you could actually get 8 tanks on screen at once. And
would it be like a free-for-all, or could you have team play?
No, it was always free-for-all. But my favorite thing to do was you could actually adjust the size of the explosions, and if you did a multiplayer, you'd want to crank up the explosions to maximum and just hope you were the first person to get a turn, drop a nuke, it would crush the whole screen, everybody dies. And you just listen to all your classmates in the various corners of the room going, "Aww."
Not so much an online game, but I guess like back in the days before online was a thing, LAN play was essentially online play.
Yeah.
You wouldn't call it couch co-op because it wasn't like hot seat. I think would be the closest thing to couch co-op back in those days for like PC gaming.
Yeah.
It's funny how nowadays we have to specify couch co-op, because back in the day it was just multiplayer. If a game was multiplayer, it was like you had a friend over and you played like with 2 controllers. Like fucking Super Mario Brothers was multiplayer. But even that wasn't fucking multiplayer. I was watching a video the other day where they talk about like Super Mario Brothers technically isn't multiplayer, it's hot seat gaming. Because at no point, except for the much later games like Super Mario Brothers Wii and Wii U, it's like you don't actually have more than one person on screen at any given time.
Yeah.
Except if you're playing like the original Mario Brothers, which is like where you're in the sewers and shit, and you have to like knock the enemies upside down and then kick them off.
Yeah, that one was pretty fun, but
A good hidden multiplayer game in Mario 3, I'll give him that.
But, yeah, no, the main reason to have 2 players in a game like that is when you have your stupid younger brother who doesn't know how to play, so he's not wasting your lives and your progress while you actually do good at the game.
I never had a younger brother. I was a younger brother, but I was superior to games in almost every aspect.
I didn't have a younger brother or sister either. I was an only child, and but, you know, I had friends, so I at least understood the concept, because none of them were as good as me. I try to boast, just the kids in my neighborhood were an idiot. And
It's sad that, like, nowadays people have to ask for, like, couch co-op in a lot of games.
Yeah, fighting games are about the only game I can think of left where you really get to have the 2-player.
Yeah, some racing games don't even have 2-player. I'm thinking, like, what kind of asshattery is this?
Yeah.
What kind is like if you're having a racing game, why can't it be two people at once? Split screen. Fucking Mario Kart did it back on the Super Nintendo. What the fuck's your excuse?
Yeah, I mean, hell, GoldenEye used to split the screen into 4 pieces so 4 people could play at once, and that was on much smaller TVs. Like the flat screen I got in my living room that is easily 4 times the size of a screen that we used for 4-player GoldenEye. So,
Oh yes, GoldenEye. That would have been fucked up if that was like an online multiplayer game. Could you imagine dealing with that shit? Like, people popping in from like lag because that was like back in the day of dial-up and shit.
And they'd all be playing short round.
All right. We all agreed, no short round. Then everyone just pops in a short round. God damn it!
We said.
Well, you picked them too, yeah, because I knew you were going to be unfaithful, you cocksucker. Let's see. You said you played StarCraft online back in the day, and also LAN play.
Yes. Not very often. I mostly did the single player campaign. As playing with other people is not usually my thing. But I did do that with StarCraft a few times. My favorite was the Zerg. One thing I would always hate is when people would play online. I don't remember the names of the other two factions because they're not Zerg. Fuck
They
them.
would be Terrans, which were the humans, and then you had the Protoss, which were like, your space Native American bullshit.
Well, that's where you're wrong. They were Zerg food. But they'd always want to, do this truce before the game started so they could build units. And to me, I think that was bullshit, because if you're not prepared to deal with a sudden rush, be it from any one of the factions, not just the Zerg, then you need to learn to play the game better.
You need to, practice with some fucking Koreans, get your shit together.
Yeah, the strength of those other two units was in their later game. But for the Zerg, their strength was in speed and being relentless. And so to try to put this arbitrary time limit before you could attack basically meant that you either had to be really, really good with Zerg, or the Zerg just didn't win. Now I generally didn't obey these truces because, like I said, as far as I'm concerned, if you don't know how to protect yourself from the beginning, then you need to learn how to play.
Well, it's also like if you're playing Zerg and they're playing a not Zerg faction, and they say, all right, 10-minute truce, then that's literally them telling you, I can't beat Zerg. So if you wouldn't mind kneecapping yourself from the get-go so that I can win. That's literally what they're telling you. If you're playing Zerg and someone's asking you not to Zerg rush, then they're just telling you you're going to win.
Yeah. They've already decided they can't win.
Because that's the Zerg strength. It's like, why would you pick a faction and have absolutely no intent of using them based on their strength? That's retarded. That's just dumb.
Yeah, going back to the Mortal Kombat example, I didn't get mad at the guy for using his tactics. I recognized them as cheap, but it won. It beat me. And really, when it comes to playing a game like that, I have hit points, and his goal is to get rid of them. He did it.
Mission accomplished. It wasn't the cleanest, honorable way of doing it, but sometimes you have to use chemical weapons to win your war.
Yeah.
People are gonna bitch and moan, but hey, who won? Who lost?
Yeah. I believe it was either Shawn Michaels or Triple H. They got a really controversial win once for the championship. And the next day he goes out and says, it's an old saying, and I don't know or care who coined the phrase, but at the end of the day, they'd ask you if you won, not how you won.
How'd I win? Easily. The other guy didn't even see that shit coming.
There's some people that get frustrated when other people aren't playing by this code of conduct, and I can see where it can be frustrating, and I can see where it can be not fun to play, but ultimately it's up to you to decide if you want to hold yourself to a code of conduct and a higher set of standards. It's not your opponent's responsibility to do that. And if you're going to live by that code, you just got to realize there's going to be cheating dickheads out there, and you either got to get good enough to work around it, or suck it up.
Yeah, it's like samurais. Like they talk about, like samurai always had this code of honor and blah blah blah. I tell you what, like the one samurai who kicked his opponents in the dick at the start of the fight, I'm pretty sure he wasn't the one that lost most of his fights.
Yeah. The old dick kick. And that is why Johnny Cage is awesome.
No, his was dick punching.
Yeah, well, he'll still punch you in the dick. Or the knot balls nowadays.
Yeah, moving on to more modern games, I remember playing Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Fate of Two Worlds on multiplayer. And this was the original one, not the Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 or anything like that. I was working at GameStop at the time, so I checked it out from the store. And one thing that just baffled me was the multiplayer system, which was either it was constantly interrupting you in the campaign so that you could not ever beat the game, because every time you're getting anywhere, and here comes a new challenger. It's like, son of a bitch. It's like if this was in the arcade, after a while, you're going to start punching kids in the face every time they try to run up and interrupt you just as you're about to finish the fucking game.
Yeah.
But it's like what baffled me was like the online lobby system was you'd get about, I think it was like 8 players or something in a lobby, and you would go like a King of the Hill style. Whoever would win would have to defend their title against the next person. Now, what I found absolutely stupid was the way that they dealt with that in the lobby. When someone was fighting and it wasn't you, you're just sitting in the lobby, and you would see the ID cards of the fighters just bash against each other in this goofy little fucking animation where you would just see their cards, like someone smashing, like
a kid smashing his toys together when they're fighting.
Like, yeah, take that, Cobra Commander. Yeah. And I'm thinking, it's like, really? It's a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox 360, like whichever console you're using. This is what we fucking resorted to in our fight. We've come this far, and I'm watching an index card have a fight to the death with a fucking index card. I'm watching the War of the Dewey Decimal System. What the fuck is this nonsense?
I had never actually went into the lobby. I just set it up for online challenge until I realized, I wasn't going to get to play the game.
And then, so finally your turn comes up. And you just get your shit handed to you. You get your ass kicked off of your body and handed back to you in a less than satisfactory state. And back into the fucking lobby you go.
While watching more index cards do battle.
And by the time you come around again, you're like, alright, I know what to prepare for. That guy's already been knocked off, so now you got a new fucking mystery to fight against, and once again you get your shit handed to you. And it's like, there's no way you can prepare for the kind of tactics that this person's going to use because you have no way of watching them fight. If I was in a fucking arcade, I can sit there and watch this guy play against the other guy. It's not like whenever they're playing, they're fucking just locked in a goddamn steel box. That's like, no one can see what's going on inside. And then once the fight's over, the fucking blinders and blast doors come up. And finally, the people outside can see the screen again.
Yeah, that's one thing I do miss is going to the arcade to play the old fighting games and watching people line up to put their quarters. And when you do a good enough job that you actually see a couple people pick up their quarters and go to a different arcade game. That, of course, doesn't happen too often, but it's always great to see a few pick up their quarter.
When I was a kid, I didn't know any better. When someone put their fucking quarter there, I would always just try to take it. It's like, dumbass is leaving money here. It's mine now. Well, if you wanted to keep your fucking quarter, you should have kept it in your pocket like I do with mine. Then again, my parents were like not in the habit of giving me money when I went to the arcade. So I either had to entertain myself watching other people play or watching the demos play on the games.
Yeah.
fucking eye catches on those arcade games back in the day. But yeah, it's like now I heard that in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Ultimate Edition, they actually let you like spectate on the online matches, and I'm thinking, why the fuck didn't they do that on the onset?
It was probably just easier. But
If you're gonna have a lobby system like that, then don't even fucking bother with a lobby system. Because then you're just sitting there dicking around with your thumb up your ass waiting for your turn.
yeah, that sounds very insane to me. I'm kind of surprised that's how it works.
It's like, yeah, you own the game and you've never actually played it online like that.
Yeah. Well, I remember the first time I set it up to play online, I did it to where they could challenge me in the middle of playing, and I thought that would mean that I could either accept the challenge or decline it as necessary.
Instead, it just kicks you screaming and flailing.
Yeah.
Like someone being ejected from a car accident, like, without wearing a seatbelt, and hitting the pavement and scraping across until they're a nice red smear.
Yeah, no. I don't know why, but on this particular day, I kept getting in a fight with the same guy over and over again. Now, I don't know if there's like a rematch option if you challenge somebody and they lose or what, but somehow this guy just like kept getting connected to me, and as soon as I would beat him and go back to my game, I'd be having to fight him again. And after kicking this guy's ass a dozen times or so, I just got sick of seeing his name and Iron Man. And I reset my system and turn the feature off and then just start casually playing again because...
Like, the dude didn't send you, like, angry messages. It's like, what, you scared of me now?
No.
It's like, no, I'm afraid that I'm going to end up getting banned off the fucking network because, like, they're going to accuse me of, like, abusing you. But just the sheer amount of times I whipped your punk ass in online.
And, yeah, most of the time I get my ass kicked online anyway. I don't care if I win or lose for the most part, but this guy just... I kept facing him, and I don't know why our accounts just kept bouncing into each other. I figured there'd be a better randomization to the system than that.
You two are the only motherfuckers that had their systems open up to, like, receive challenges that day.
I guess so.
Now, one thing that's always bugged me about online gaming is lag. Now, I've mentioned it's like lag wasn't too horribly noticeable back in the day. Like, believe it or not, I didn't have as many lag problems when I was dealing with like 56k modems. As stupid as that fucking sounds.
Well, at that point, everything was running so slow, and games were designed to be...
To compensate for that.
Yeah, nowadays, they just make a game the way they make it, and if your system can't handle it, that's on you.
Well, not even if your system can't handle it. Like, if some dude's, like, getting, like, 500, like, gigs a second, and you're running on, like, 2 megabytes a second on a good day, which is my fucking internet, I'm currently paying for 200 megabytes a second internet. On a good day. On a good fucking day, I pull 2 megabytes a second on download, and maybe a quarter of that on upload.
Wow.
On average, I'm not even running a full megabyte a second. I'm running like 500k a second. And I'm thinking, I'm not even getting 1% of what I'm fucking paying for. What kind of fucking bullshit is this? But it's because we have to live on the sparkling, bleached anus by the sea of this shithole town of ours that we don't have a single fucking inch of fiber optic cable in this godforsaken county, that I have to put up with this bullshit. And of course, it doesn't help that we got all these commercials and shows like, come join Time Warner, we offer 20 megabytes a second. I'm like, you lying cunts. I know for a goddamn fact you don't offer anything close to that.
Just as a disclaimer, Fats does not condone the use of the word cunts.
Stop saying that.
I will never stop saying that.
You will eventually. I will wear you down.
You can try.
By weathering.
I will outchild you.
Outstubborn me? You obviously don't know who I was raised by.
No, but I know who I was raised by. Pirates.
If anyone wants to know why I tend to favor that term, I have a friend of mine who showed me the movie Bronson. And if you've never seen that movie, give it a try. And you will really add that term to your vernacular very quickly. Because, goddammit, they throw that shit around like it's oxygen in the air. That is how often that word is used.
Well,
But that is a topic for another day. But going back to the topic at hand, yes, nowadays, if you have a slow internet connection, you're going to pay for it on the online gaming front. The only time that's not really an issue is if you're playing like a turn-based strategy game, something like that. If you got a PC and you're playing something like Civilization 5 or 6, or you're playing XCOM or XCOM 2 online, something like that, then it's acceptable. Because you're not doing shit at the exact same time. You do what you need to do, and then bam, it moves on to the next one, and it moves on down the line. So, if you have a shit internet, like mine, learn to play strategy games. And learn to get really good at them, because, man, if you are not good at those, you will get your head kicked in online. I fucking guarantee it. Now, I honestly didn't think I was that good at those games. But I remember I ran across a guy who... he was an artist on this website that I'm part of. I used to do art back in the day when I used to be able to draw, but my parents put me on medication and cleared that shit up right quick. Which, that's a topic for another day. But, and so he was looking for people to play online with, and so I enjoyed his art, and I'm always looking for new people to play online with regularly. And so, added him to my Xbox Live list, and we played a bit of XCOM. And, I royally trounced the shit out of him. And I wasn't even trying. And he claimed that he could beat all of his friends pretty easily on XCOM multiplayer. And yet, I honestly don't believe that. I mean, I just straight up stomped him. Out of the whole game, I lost one character, and I wiped his team the fuck out. And I remember I screwed up on a turn, and I'm like, fuck. And all of a sudden I hear him jump in the voice chat, and he's like, fuck, what could you possibly have? How could you have fucked up to the point where you would say that after you've just been kicking my ass this whole match? I'm like, I fucked up my turn. It's like, no, you didn't. I still can't win. How did you fuck up your turn? I didn't want to tell the guys, like, I'm sorry you suck that badly.
Well, I haven't had an experience like that online. As I said, most of the time I don't even bother to play online. But when I was younger, I played the hell out of any fighting game I can get my hands on. I burned through quarters at the arcade. And I was pretty good. Even if I was unfamiliar with the game, I knew enough about fighting games in general that I could usually figure out enough with a new character and at least be somewhat efficient. And so Tekken Tag just comes out. And I go and I put in my quarters. I select Eddie because I'm kind of familiar with him, and I select Anna because she looks cool. Never played Anna before. And immediately some guy comes rushing in to start challenging me, puts his quarters in, and I wiped the floor with him. I had set my team up to play Eddie first and Anna second. And after I beat him, he puts in another quarter, so I go ahead and swap my team around to play Anna first. And again, I wiped the floor with him. He decides to put in one more quarter. I went ahead and flipped my team around with Eddie again because I was tired of this guy playing against me. and I beat him. And he starts complimenting me on how good I am and how he played really good characters, and he never played anybody as good as me. And he goes and walks off, and I just kind of take a look at my friend who was watching me play, and I shrug and say, "This is my first time playing this game. I don't even know who the hell she is."
Well, you're pretty good at fighting games in general. You have, like, whipped my ass on every single fighting game we've ever played.
Except Samurai Showdown. You got me on that one.
Well, except when you were, like, playing characters that you just stomped my head in with. There's, like, some of them, like, literally the only reason I won is because I got mad at you for, like, picking, like, a particular character. Like, we were playing Samurai Showdown 5, and those of you who've never played Samurai Showdown 5, there's a character on there that literally is a giant yokai monster. He's this giant zombified dude who, instead of fighting you with, like, a sword or something, he has a missing hand, and he has just the bone of his forearm jutting out and sharpened to a point, and he stabs at you with that. And when you disarm him in the game, literally you knock his fucking forearm off at the elbow. And he has to go, like, trudge over to it and pick it up and fucking Frankenstein it back on his goddamn arm to continue fighting with it.
Oh,
And I
fun.
just could not fucking beat him. It didn't help that he's just such a big character that for some reason it seemed like he didn't take as much damage, and his hitbox didn't seem to fit with his enormous size, but his fucking attack range was massive, so I couldn't even hit you.
Yeah,
And I got so frustrated that you took pity on me and picked someone else. It's like the only reason I was able to beat you at Samurai Showdown 3 is because I used to play the shit out of that game at the arcade, and I always picked the same character.
That was clearly your game.
It's like, but even then, like Samurai Showdown was an SNK game, and those games did not fuck around. Those games were designed to beat you up and take your fucking lunch money, and that they did.
Yeah.
If those of you have never played an SNK game, I challenge you to go through Metal Slug and play it with just 1 quarter. No continues. Fucking try it. I know there's someone out there who's done it. There's been like a speedrun or two where like someone's actually done that. But like these are people who like play the game in their fucking sleep. Like they plug it into the back of their goddamn skull like homeboys from the Matrix, and they just play it. Like, you know, while they're unconscious so that they can literally see the code. But I mean, the average guy cannot beat that game without putting in like $20 worth of quarters. And the fighting games are complete fucking bullshit.
Indeed.
Alright, and speaking of multiplayer, one of the things that I have done some first-person shooting online. A couple of friends of mine, they like to get those shooter games, and we used to get the Call of Duties, and we used to run online with them. I started off with just one friend of mine, and then he started introducing me to a couple of other friends that he played online with, and eventually we got a 4-man stack we'd run online with. Whenever we were playing with random people, the general term we'd use for them was blueberries, because often they'd show up on the map as blue, whereas the people who were part of your like PlayStation party or Xbox party would be listed as like green most of the time. Now, if you've ever wanted to have a legitimate grievance against online play, in particular, I haven't played a lot of fighters, like one-on-one fighters online. You have, but shooters online or like really high impact games like MOBAs and shit where like split-second timing means everything. If you're lagging at all, it is the fucking death of you.
Well, shooters online are actually the main reason I avoid online gaming. I don't know what it's like now, but in the heyday, particularly when Xbox was new,
God, yeah.
it was just a very toxic environment. Fighting games seem to have more honor in this regard, but there is some toxicity there.
Now,
Halo is the one that absolutely ruined it for me.
now, every time I've said that, people always jump to the defense of Halo. For those of you out there, this is going to get us a lot of flack, but I honestly don't care for Halo. I've never really liked it. It's like the single player campaign, it's okay. I've never really found anything that stuck out about it. The multiplayer is even less for me because it's kind of old standard deathmatch, and just with a game like Halo, it just doesn't seem to fit. I expect more out of it. Now it sounds kind of weird, but just the way it feels, you know.
Yeah. Well, when you mention old style deathmatch, the one of the games that really just always stuck in my head for it. So we're playing Halo, and it's 3 of us against 2 other people, and we're in the Blood Gulch map. Now, the 2 people we were playing against were far more experienced, and they knew the map so well they knew where all the spawn points were. So much so that they would park vehicles over spawn points to limit the number of spawn points we could arrive at. And once they got the map pinned down like that, they just sat there and sniped us whenever we'd pop through.
Yeah, it's definitely all kinds of bullshit. That's spawn camping, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Now, I eventually was able to turn things around for us for our team. Because I decided I'm going to quit playing this like Halo and start playing it like Quake. And what I did was I managed to dodge the sniping and somehow managed to speed over to, I think it was called the Warthog, and crash it into the enemy base to steal their flag. And I just started encouraging my teammates to just all rush at once, rush like motherfuckers, and eventually by barraging like that, we were able to finally break through their mess, force them to think, and
Think?
Yeah.
Oh my god, their only weakness.
It was. We barely managed to pull out the win, but it wasn't fun. It just kind of... We had to grind through everything to pull out that victory, and just this most sluggish, irritating way we possibly could.
You turned a match in in Blood Gulch into the fucking Psalm of World War One.
Yeah.
We fought for every goddamn inch, and there were many casualties.
Yeah, it just wasn't worth the effort. And
Fucking post-traumatic stress disorder on that shit.
yeah, and
Shell shock and all that nonsense.
And I realize that's not every Halo player. I realize that, but the fact of the matter is there's enough of them out there. And
Now, I've played all the Call of Duties from starting at Modern Warfare 2 all the way up to, what was it? Advanced Warfare. And I haven't picked up one since. But I've played Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops, Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 2, Call of Duty Ghost, Black Ops 3. I played all of them. All the multiplayer. And I've played Battlefield 2. No, not Battlefield 2. Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and Battlefield, the new one. The one from last year, Battlefield 1, the World War 1 one. And so I played both of those. Now, obviously, the communities aren't the best. I'll say that. But to this fucking day, I have never, ever run into a community in an online game, in any fucking online game. Console, PC, any fucking game that was as fucking caustic as the bullshit on the Halo multiplayer. Hands down. Not even close. It's like, I will use some pretty fucking foul language, but the shit I have been called and the shit I have heard on the Halo multiplayer by fucking 4-year-olds, man. And I know they're 4-year-olds because, like, Halo 3 and all those fucking games were, like, big. They were the big fucking deal when I was working at GameStop. And one thing I fucking hated when I was working there, I fucking hated this, was having to sell these M-rated games to these miserable little shits because they had shit-ass parents. Just the shittiest goddamn parents. I don't care if you think you're a good parent. If you're buying Grand Theft Auto 5 for your fucking 5-year-old, you're not. You're not a good parent. You are shit. I don't care what fucking excuse you have. You are a shit fucking parent. End of discussion. There is no argument. There is no justification. You are a shit parent. Now, when their kids, like, they're getting an M-rated game like Halo, and I had to explain to them because, like, you don't just sell them that; you have to explain to the parents. This game is M-rated for, and then you list off all the shit on the back of the box. And because I'd played the games online, and as I said, I do have to give you an extra warning. It says ESRB doesn't rate online interactions. This is the worst community I've ever come in contact with, and I've dealt with some really shitty communities. I've been in some dark fucking places on the internet, okay? And they're like, oh no, it's fine. He's played all of them up to this point. He's so advanced for his age. You know what happens when people tell you that their kid's advanced for their age? It means their kid's as dumb as a fucking tree stump. I don't care how fucking advanced you think your goddamn kid is. He's not. Your kid is a drooling fucking imbecile. He is the dumbest motherfucker to walk this fucking planet. When you say your kid is advanced for his age, it just means that you're comparing him against some of the other dumbest motherfuckers on the planet. And through your rose-tinted glasses, he's not that much of a drooling moron as compared to the rest of them.
Well, not justifying the parents' actions, but I know a lot of parents who thought just because their kids understood how this equipment works, that, you know, it was some sort of, like, special trait, not realizing how easy video games are to pick up if you actually give a shit. So they think they're doing all this advanced computer stuff and therefore must be geniuses. So,
like, you know, like, in order, like, if you actually had to, like, pass a fucking, like, test in order to play Halo, you had to go through, like, the tutorial opening stage of the original Driver game for the PlayStation before you could actually play the game proper. Now, for games like Halo, I would love for that to be a fucking feature, because I know, like, I have heard so many people say that they heard that the original Driver was a good game, but they will never fucking know because they never got through that fucking tutorial. Yes, look it up. Go on YouTube and look up the opening tutorial for Driver. And it requires that you do all the things on this list and do them in, like, a very cramped parking garage with lots of pillars without causing damage to your car. And you gotta do it under a time limit. So the game is forcing you to do this thing while you're under the gun. Now, I'm not exactly the best at driving games, so I have nothing to, like, you know, like, to brag about when I say it took me well over a fucking hour to get through this bullshit. Through trial and error before I was actually able to play the goddamn game proper. And let me tell you, compared to the later stages, they're not even that difficult compared to that bullshit.
yeah. Oh, that'd be an option, like for Mortal Kombat, before you could turn on the blood and fatalities, you gotta pass some sort of arbitrary bullshit combo system with every character.
Including the poopy ones.
Including the poopy ones. Speaking of which, one game I wish had an online mode is Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Not because I am the best person I know at that game, but I am. But just to hunt down anyone who ever said a bad thing about Stryker without actually trying to play him, because I will fucking murder you with Stryker.
I will teach you the meaning of police brutality with fucking Stryker. I will make the Rodney King beating look like a nice Sunday walk through a meadow compared to what I fucking do to you.
I will eat you with Stryker.
Eat you alive and spit out the fucking seeds.
Then I'll find a way to cook the seeds because I'm fat. Yeah, one of the things I used to love to do is when somebody would shit on a character in Mortal Kombat Trilogy was play them and just totally smash them with that character. But I was so good at that game, I would actually turn off my special moves and combos and still proceed to beat your monkey ass.
I will stomp you into the dirt that mud hole I stomp into your fucking gut will seem more like the fucking Great Lakes. Now, but going back to before I went on my tirade, which I am wont to do, I was talking about lag on online games, and God, that really
we talk about that.
is like, God, that really fucking hurts on the online shooters. There's nothing quite as frustrating as emptying an entire magazine from your fucking gun into some asshole, and he doesn't drop. That motherfucker just brushes it off like it's just light pitter-patter of rain onto him. Yet you get hit maybe 3 times with a pistol or like one of those really like shitty submachine guns that do almost no damage.
But they're all headshots.
Not even that. He's shooting you in the fucking knee. And you drop like a bitch. And when you look at like the goddamn playback, because like especially in the Call of Duty games, you can see like, you know, the kill cam. So you can watch as this person casually honed in on you because your internet's such shit. And like took his time to take 1, 2, 3 shots and then you drop. Whereas I'm sitting there because my gun gets fucking tired from all the bullets I'm pumping into this asshole, and I literally have to chase after them while reloading to start up a second mag just to drop them. Where is the fun in that? And I was still like usually somewhere along the middle of the map. God, I can't even imagine how good I could have done if I wasn't kneecapped by my bullshit connection. And that's not to say, like, I got lightning fast reflexes, because I'm the first to admit, I fucking don't. I fucking don't have lightning fast reflexes. My reflexes are slow as fuck. That's why I don't do well at fighting games anymore. Nor did I ever as a child, for that matter. But it's like, come on. And especially nowadays, like, one thing I always hate in the Call of Duty games are floppers. And those of you may know what I'm talking about. A flopper is someone that when you bump into them, like you both turn a corner and bump into each other, their first response is to go prone as quickly as possible. They'll kneel and then they'll go prone. Now, if you have a fast internet connection, this isn't a problem because you can just aim down and shoot at them and kill them while they're busy trying to go prone. If you're like me, and even if you're not a full second lag, and usually I have about a 2 full second lag, even if you're just like at a half second or like a quarter of a second lag, the game's auto-targeting, which I've turned the fucking auto-targeting off and it still fucking does this, always tries to get your target reticle to aim at the center mass. So as they're dropping and you're trying to aim your gun down, your gun's automatically attempting to fight you and aim up at where they were, not where they are. And so you think you're shooting at them and following them down to the ground as they go prone, but instead all your bullets are flying above their head. Meanwhile, from their perspective, you're aiming 3 feet above them while they're dumping their fucking rounds into your stomach, and then all of a sudden you just drop dead when it finally catches up to you. It is complete bullshit, and it is designed to fuck with people like me who have shit-ass connections. It is completely aggravating, and they probably feed on that anger. I doubt they can go to sleep without knowing they haven't pissed off someone in a game like that. I tend to like the larger games like Battlefield a bit more because there's less likely that you getting your ass handed in is going to have a dramatic effect on the match because there's a lot more of you fighting. So you're thinking, well, I may be sucking on this match, but at least it ain't costing us the match. When there's like 20 some odd of you fighting like in a big fucking match, as opposed to like 8-on-8 combat in like the Call of Duty games, whereas if one person's just stinking up the whole game, it is going to have a significant effect on the outcome of the match. But I've even seen your stepson. I've seen your stepson playing games like For Honor, and that seems to be like, you know, the hot button that he keeps pushing right now. And I've seen him play, and I can literally tell that he's suffering from lag. He claims that it's not the lag, it's something else. But no, I've literally seen him get into like a slugfest on For Honor while he still has a good chunk of health, and without getting hit, he just drops dead. And I'm thinking, no, that's lag. Because I didn't even see the guy hit you, you're already dead. Which means that he hit you before, and it just caught up to you.
Yeah, and I guess he hasn't had enough online play to really understand that right now.
Yeah, it seems to be frustrating for him, but like I've experienced that shit. I've gone through like, you know, all the anger and rage that is fighting with your connection when you're trying not to suck at an online game. Yeah, it's just something he's going to have to pick up and learn that, you know, no matter how good you are, you're only as good as your connection when it comes to the online.
Yeah, and some people don't have the internet, they have the Ubernet.
Yeah, like, you know, their dad works at, like, fucking Comcast, and they get the actual internet that fucking works. Not the bullshit that we pay overpriced for that doesn't do a goddamn thing for us.
Yeah, now, like, I play a lot of fighting games, and I do play them online sometimes, and every now and then I'll get hit with lag, but usually in fighting games it seems to be pretty stable. Typically what'll happen when I start to experience lag is not so much my character slowing down, but their characters moving faster than they should.
Yeah, like they'll start teleporting and shit?
It's not that bad, but like Sonya's one of the faster characters in Mortal Kombat X, and I got a pretty good gauge for how fast she should be, and then there's some cases where, you know, my computer starts my game starts lagging, and she's moving faster than she should. Now, I typically play Tanya or Katana, and they're both really fast characters in their own right, so sometimes that'll compensate for the lag. Particularly if I'm playing a character who's using a slower person like Jason Voorhees or Trimmer or something like that. But most of the time when you're playing online, people tend to go with the really fast ones.
There's like, because they're not there to tank, they're there to get in their hits as quickly as possible and back off before you can hit them back.
Right.
Now, the latest issues I've been having is with Heroes of the Storm, because I've been playing that game a bit now, and God, when the lag hits you on there, you are completely fucked. And man, it loves hitting me just when I'm about to get into a team fight. Son of a bitch. Heroes of the Storm is a MOBA game, which is like that massively online battle arena, and I play it because it's the simpler of the ones, and it is free to get. It's like buying all the extra characters and shit, that costs money, but I haven't spent a dime on it yet. I just unlock them as I go because I'm patient and cheap as fuck. But God, it's like it seems I'm going from one point to another. I turn a corner and I see two of the opposing team, and I'm thinking, all right, hit them hard and back off and try to, like, you know, meet up with my team so that I don't get ganked. And as soon as I see them, all of a sudden everything just stops, and I'm thinking, son of a fucking bitch. And so I wait there the commensurate 5 seconds, and once it like catches me up, I'm dead. Because to them, I just stood there like a fucking idiot for 5 seconds while they unloaded all of their special attacks on me, and I didn't do anything to respond. And then whammo, I'm done. And God, when it does that to you multiple times for a single match, and then you got everyone on the other team going, man, we suck because you suck. It's like, well, fuck you too, buddy. You know what? You give me some of your bandwidth, and maybe we'll see how it works out next time. Why don't you ship it on over my way? I could use some.
The most recent game that I've taken up that I play online, it would be Overwatch. And so far, I haven't had any trouble with the community there. It's all been very positive, even when I'm clearly the noob of the group. My favorite character on there is Diva. And one fun moment I had is when I got my first play of the game. And you were actually there to witness it.
Yes, that was a fun one.
I'm playing Diva. I just get killed. But it tips me over enough to have my ultimate ready. So I'm boosting from the entrance point to get back to where we're all fighting. And I kick off her ultimate, which she basically ejects out of her mech suit. The mech suit explodes. And I fling it at the largest group of enemies I could see. And as it turns out, the opposing team has Mercy, and her ultimate is she can resurrect everybody at once, which she did. And my bomb goes off right as she resurrects, so I kill the entire team in one sweep.
And I remember watching the replay on that and thinking, my God, they must hate you right now.
Oh, they did. For the rest
because like they had just gotten wiped out. I think it was on that. It was on the map where they have in Russia where they have all the giant robots in the background. It was the capture of the points.
Yeah.
And so it was on the second point. So your team just needs to capture this point to win the game. And so your team had done enough attrition to them to like wipe out most of the opponent team. And so she needed to get off that res. And that was a big res. That was like
at least 3 people.
I think it was 4. Because you did a team wipe. That was a whole fucking team wipe.
Yeah, I got a trophy for it.
And like literally like the second, because like when they're reviving, they can't move. They're stuck in place while they're reviving. And the second they went from glowing light to flesh, bang! And they were all dead again. Every last fucking one. I think it's a 6-on-6. So if it's 6-on-6, you wiped out 5 rezzed people and Mercy herself. You wiped them the fuck out, and that was glorious to see. Because neither of us is particularly good at that game.
No, I managed to get the perfect move off by accident, but it was beautiful, and I will take credit for it.
I mean, like, the only character I'm good at in that fucking game is Bastion, because he just sits there and, like, miniguns everyone to death. It's a character that requires very little fast reaction time, and as a result, he is a sitting duck for people like, fucking... God, what is that dude's name? I'm just going to call him Gorilla Grodd, whatever his fucking name is. Winston. Winston and...
most people just call him Harambe around here.
Yes, apparently that's still a thing.
He died for our sins.
You're going to start that up again. It has just started to die down, and it's going to come on back. Coming right alongside... the Who Touched My Spaggot and the Tide Pod Challenge and the Do You Know Da Way.
Well, I'm trying to start up the cult of the Angry Monkey Christ, so all those old Harambe pictures will do good.
You just got to collect them before they get expunged from the internet.
Yes.
But yeah.
Angry Monkey Christ. He will come off his cross and fling poo at you for your sins.
He didn't die for your sins. He just got really upset. No, but it's like Winston and God, what's her name? That annoying bitch that teleports with the blink and shit.
Oh, Tracer.
Yeah, Tracer. God, I hate Tracer. Tracer, her character is designed to be annoying. She moves very quickly. She is a small target. She darts around, so she's very difficult to hit. And her ultimate is literally like a griefing attack. She runs in, drops a sticky bomb at you, which gives you plenty of time to think about just how much you fucking hate her and everything that has to do with her before you die. And of course, like, she runs up, sticks you with it before you have a chance to do anything about it, and then hits her fucking recall so that she's well out of harm's way, so that you can't even have the satisfaction of getting a revenge kill before you explode. So whenever I see her, get torn apart by, a Reaper or something like that, those are good times. Those are the best of times. But she is the perfect counter for a Bastion, because she just runs up, sticks him with the sticky bomb, and then recalls away before he has a chance to do anything about it.
The only other character I've tried on there is May, and I am not good with May. I'm going to give up that dream. I'll just continue to admire her and from a distance. So far, Diva is the way to go for me.
Oh, that about does it. We've gone a little bit over our normal time, but who fucking cares? We're not on a strict schedule here.
Angry Monkey Christ cares.
When he is a thing, then we will acknowledge it. He's not a thing yet.
As
you got to work on that.
As you drive home, I suggest you keep your windshield wipers going. He will fling poo at you. You're going to want that poo to be wiped away.
Alright, so until next time, you all think about that. You all meditate on what we've talked about, and then you think about what you've done up to this point to end up where you are now.
Eventually we'll have Angry Monkey Christ t-shirts and stickers in the shop.
The hell we will.
We will. We will.
We'll see about that. We will see about that.
Eat laxative bananas.